This is Inside with Outsiders. I'm Jeremy Asgari, and this is Jennifer Hazzard of Jennifer Hazzard Life Coaching.
Yay!
All right. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can you please explain to us a little more about what you do? Because I was trying to get the neuro-linguistic programming master practitioner. Why did you cut me off? I was going to say it. So what is it you do?
I was assisting you in all the verbiage is what that was.
I appreciate you.
Boop. So,
by the way, try to keep the mic like an inch from your mouth.
Get closer to me.
Yes.
So neuro-linguistic programming is actually a way of communication using audio, visual, and kinesthetic words to light up people's brains.
Can you explain what kinesthetic means to those who don't know? Because you told me on the way here.
Yes, I can. So kinesthetic is kind of a tactile feeling. Think Lincoln Logs and Legos and wanting to learn, like using your hands to be able to do it, and versus like a visual learner can sit there and like see a board and be like, okay, here's all of the things I'm supposed to learn, versus an audio learner wants to be able to be told what to do, where a kinesthetic person actually physically needs to do the act to be able to like process the information.
So on the way here, I asked, what kind of learner do you think I am? Have you figured it out yet?
Well, I said, tell me a story. Tell me what you did this weekend. And then that was a segue. You know, I can say, what did you do for your birthday last year?
I was in Sardinia.
You were in Sardinia.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
It was beautiful. It's a blue zone. I had 30 people whose company I enjoy with me, and it was a good time. It was like a wedding almost. They had like a live band and the DJ and like a buffet station. It was very random actually, but it was great.
So you went kinesthetic actually, because we were talking about this. So first you went kinesthetic, then you went back to an audio recall, and then you dabbled into a visual recall of it. But if I was going to guess, you hung out mostly in auditory, which actually makes sense because you're really good with languages. So being able to pick up languages is something easy for an auditory learner. I
like to be well-rounded in all of those. But no, it's interesting to know.
Yeah,
I also think I like to see things with visual as well. As far as learning, like I like to walk through how to do something and see how it's done, as well as explained. So, yeah. I
know. See, and then you go and hang out in kinesthetic so much. So now that I'm like on and paying attention to it, but you have to like pay attention. So like the tall tale sign is like is eye movement. It's microfacial movements. So it's 1/8 of a second, and it's like like all of that and how somebody's eyes move. But that's part of what I do. What I also teach social and emotional intelligence.
I didn't know that's something you could actually teach, because I know that's something that a lot of people lack because it's a character flaw sometimes, right? Like EQ or whatever. But you can teach that?
Oh, yeah, 100%. So EQ is, your IQ is set up by the age of 7 or 8 years old, unless you have like a massive brain trauma. It doesn't matter how much weed you smoke in your life. Like it's not gonna change.
I think that's what weed smokers say.
You know, no, seriously.
What were we talking about?
Huh? What? I'm like, I grew up in California with hippies for parents. What do you want from me?
True.
But 8 years old. So think like second grade. Yeah. You can pretty much test anybody's IQ and be like, okay, this is where they fall into it. Where your EQ is like your muscle. Yeah. If you don't use it, you lose it. So like everybody during the pandemic, when they weren't socializing with people and talking with people, that's when everybody's like social awareness went to like complete merde, like blah. And it became very prevalent that I was like, oh my God, everybody forgot how to actually interact with another human.
No, I realize I've been noticing more, and I'm gonna sound like an old man saying this, but millennials or even Gen Z more so, their communication skills are terrible. Like if you need to confront them about something, they don't want to talk about it. They want to text about it. You know, it's kind of annoying.
Or calendar invites.
Yeah, same thing. Instead of,
But they are used to like we're similar ages where we got pagers and stuff like that. But like, remember picking up the phone and like, oh, the phone line was busy. And then you'd call and keep on calling, or then you'd call the operator. Star 69. That was like a whole thing back in the day. But it's a whole generation where they actually prefer not to have like in real life conversations and meetups. They'd rather just like text or like FaceTime or do what's that house party app or all like the different apps and things like that. So it's definitely a generational thing, as well as just like a society and where we're at. Even like think of online dating. Like swipe versus going out to like places and meeting people.
Yeah, I still really prefer meeting people in person.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, almost to the point where I'm tempted to like delete these apps sometimes just because, but to be honest with you, if you're single, you have to be on these apps. Yeah.
If you plan on getting some action, it's kind of like rare if you're not, if you meet somebody in real life.
What's even worse is and not worse because I kind of appreciate it when I meet someone with no social media. But like if you meet somebody with social media.
Or red flag a little bit.
Yes and no. I mean, like, it's refreshing because they see the worth of their health not being so attached to it. But at the same time, it's like, do you have no reference of anything? How are you going to look into their behavior? I think social media behavior tells a lot about a person's personality.
100%. Well, it's meaning like if they're super active on social media and they're like, when you're on a date and they're like, blip, 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 like, no.
Oh, no.
But versus, they're on it and they post their little fun things or fun facts.
But also like seeing what they post. Like if you're a model and you're posting yourself, of course, yes, you're advertising yourself. Yeah. But if you're not a model and all your photos are photos of you looking sensual, like posing and like as if like you have a photographer with you all the time, that's a red flag too.
Those high maintenance individuals, but we love them.
Oh my God.
I do have a couple friends that have photographers that go with them everywhere.
Yeah, they're called their boyfriends or girlfriends.
No, it's like guys.
Really?
Yeah, and they have, they're like, "This is my cameraman." I'm like, "Great. What are you shooting? What's going on?"
What is the purpose? Is it your business? Is it their business?
Yeah, and like,
well, if it's their business, it's a different story. If they're making money on it, I completely condone it. But if they're not, and if they're just doing it for validation, I got a problem with it.
There are girls that do like their boyfriends to be their photographers, though. We were looking at photos earlier.
Yes,
and I was like, oh, that was a photo. I was like, she had assistance with that.
For sure. But that was also a business photo.
That's very true.
Yeah.
But the social media in general, like, again, if you don't have any, I'm like, if you are on it all the time. So there's
I question everything. Like, there's got to be balance.
Space.
Exactly. I think the sweet space is having social media, but not living for it.
That is correct. To that.
There we go. Well, we jumped far ahead because we're leaning towards like other parts of your life. But let's go back a little bit and talk about where you're from. You mentioned you're from Cali.
Born and raised Southern California. Have lived in New York for 15 years. It's home, even though I'm not, classified as a, native New Yorker.
Right. Nope. Exactly.
I'm like 15 years. I put in my time, guys.
What's funny? There's this girl that I hung out with a couple of times a couple of years ago that was from Chicago, but on her Instagram it said New Yorker, and it didn't say native New Yorker. So that I give her credit for not saying native New Yorker, but you're from Chicago, like rep that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm a good balance of California meets New York.
Right, but you're not running around like identifying yourself and claiming to everybody your identity is you're the New Yorker. You know what I'm saying? No. Like that was what she was doing. I'm like, your whole vibe is not New York at all.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't mind. I guess you've lived there 10 years, 15 years. You're for sure like you're a New Yorker.
The rule is 10 years. Like if you've lived in New York for 10 years, then you can classify
it's your home.
As a New Yorker.
I get it, but like I don't know. There's obviously New Yorkers that are OD about that stuff too. Like, you grew up in Manhattan, you're not a New Yorker or whatever. Like,
who says that?
Whoever grew up in Manhattan, So
there's that Odyssey song, like native New Yorker.
Yeah.
So I don't try to claim that, but I do like that song.
No, we went off a tangent. But so you're from Cali. What was it like growing up in Cali? SoCal too.
SoCal. So I grew up in Orange County.
Home of a lot of Persians.
It is.
Was there a lot of Persians when you grew up?
There was some. We had. Okay. I had Bayrod, my friend Bayrod.
Shout out to Bayrod.
I know. I was like Bayrod. I think he still lives there. But yeah, there's a great Persian community, huge Vietnamese, community. Mm-hmm. We had kind of like a melting pot.
And Orange County is like a suburb to LA, right?
Yeah. So it goes like LA is north, Orange County's in the middle, San Diego's in the south. Mm-hmm. And Orange County is very singular, like one note kind of plain in my opinion. Like I was just home and it's like the town that I grew up in, like it's called Yorba Linda, and the like motto or the slogan or whatever you want to call it is like the land of gracious living. Yes, I'm like,
it's like shining shit.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, ooh. And the only thing that it's known for is the Richard Nixon Library. That's the only thing that's there. But I grew up, like, again, this was like the 80s and 90s.
From what I know, isn't Orange County a really beautiful place?
It's beautiful. Yeah. But again, it's like palm trees and sunny 24/7. And I'm like, this is boring. Yeah. Like, I like the seasons. I like the variety.
I want evil.
My mom vividly remembers me being in the bathtub and being like, I'm going to live in New York City at 4 years old. I don't remember that. My mom's like, yeah, you did that. And wow. I moved here when I was 22. So
your basically entire adulthood, more or less, is New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I graduated. I went to college in Orange County. Graduated college.
What did you study?
Communications with a concentration in public relations with a minor in European art and architecture.
That's hilarious. My major was communications, specifically PR and journalism.
Okay.
A minor in psychology, and if they allowed double minors, it would have been sociology as well.
Well, that was that's a theme. I liked art, so I just went off on a tangent.
Yeah,
and
but mine was like I just thought people were interesting.
People are. That's why I study neuroscience now, because I'm like, oh, the brain and people, and like, how does the mind work? And I'm like, I'm like, that has some unresolved child trauma.
Yeah, and you could tell that by like looking at someone's social media, for example.
Exactly. Yeah. Or, having a conversation with someone, and I'm like, oh, yes. As somebody that is single and goes,
I was asking, how does that affect your dating life? Like, I mean, probably it's like a superpower in a sense where you're able to spot red flags really
Yes.
Easily, I should say. Yeah. But then does it disrupt you from like actually having fun because you're like, oh, this is going to be terrible if I go down this path. I'm going to leave it alone.
It's, if anything, when I start talking about it, people get very intimidated because I'm like, oh, I can find out if you're this type of learner and this is this kind of stuff. And then guys are like, I
find it super interesting. Like I wouldn't be intimidated by that at all, but I'm also all about self-help and improvement. So yeah.
I went on a first date a couple weeks ago. And this guy would just like made all of these presumptions about me based on like the things I was telling him. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't talk about like neuroscience on a first date. And I was like,
politics and neuroscience, stay away from it.
I was just like, okay, don't talk about this and how the brain works and all of these different aspects of the brain. But it was really, really funny. And then he was just like, well, you obviously seem to like, based on the neighborhood that you live in and because you have a Soho House membership, you're paying for the date.
What?
I swear.
And would you say, yes, I am, but we're never going on a date again?
I just was like, what? I was like, so you're making assumptions based off of my zip code? And that happened. That was real.
And you paid for the date?
We split it.
And I'm guessing no action after.
No. I was like, I'm going to walk this way to go get an Uber. Bye.
Yeah. What a jerk.
Oh, but then he proceeded to this dating app. Oh, my God. What is it called? Oh no, what is it called? Not Field. It's a new app that is actually, it's like Grindr for heterosexuals, where it's like, I like your photos. Okay, cool. Let's message back and forth. And then you meet up just to shtup. And then like you go home.
Really? Does that actually exist for?
Yeah. And he said that he, on this date, told me that he had sex with 3 girls the past 3 nights, 3 different girls.
Isn't that what Tinder and stuff like that started as?
This is just, it's not to date though. It's just, really? It's purely shtupping.
Are you on it?
No. I was like, what? I was like, that sounds like STD Central. Yeah, that's why I was just like, and I can't believe you just told me. We went on a date on Wednesday and he's like, yeah, the last 3 nights I've been with 3 different girls. So I just feel depleted. And
I mean, I think in college I might have been intrigued by that, but like my fear of STDs would get the best of me and I would need a little romance, a little something more than that.
A little razzle dazzle.
Yeah, like, let me wine and dine us a little bit. Like,
yeah, he's like, no, the girls just show up at my house, and we are like,
I'd be scared to get like robbed. I'd be like hiding in my computer.
So they're hookers.
They're free.
They're free. I guess
they probably got like sponsored partnerships. Yeah, showing up like here we go, liquid death.
Brand sponsors.
I'm trying to remember the name. I want to say it's like True or something like that. It's some like it's gonna drive me nuts if I don't remember it. But he told me this, and I was like, oh, so it's like Grindr, but for like straight people. And he's like, yeah, I can see that.
I think I'd be too skeptical. I'd be afraid that they're trying to get one up on me for something, like steal my shit, kill me. I don't know. Yeah,
I'm a girl. I was like, that's just how you get taken. Like, and I was like, no, that's like stranger danger. And I was like, no wonder why they're coming over to your house. So you're not knowing where they live in like Stalker Central. Like, No, that's weird.
So sorry, your neuroprocessing stuff. Let's go back to that.
Neuroprocessing. It's okay. It's a lot of words. Just NLP.
NLP, neuro
linguistic
processing
programming.
Neuro-linguistic programming.
NLP for short.
NLP. I think that'd be great to have on outsiders trips, like someone who can kind of like, because it's not necessarily analyzing the people on the trips. That's not what I want, but you could probably better connect with them because you understand their whatever traumas or their way of learning or communicating.
Oh yeah, it's pretty much for everything in every aspect, even like friends, family, and all of that. And when we call it uptime, when you're actually paying attention, like when I'm like, okay, let me read Jeremy and see where he goes. And somebody that's like in an emotional state or having like a moment, and like I can tell.
No, it's a great tool, but now do you always feel like you're on because of it?
No, it's like a clicked on, click off type of thing. People like after I've been drinking or like had a little buck, like they're, people are like, oh, do this to me. And I'm like, yo, it doesn't work like that. And I was like, I can, but I'm not here, like I'm on a date. or something. I'm like, I'm here to do this.
Anyone who does any sort of health, like my friends who's just physical therapists who can like adjust your neck. People are like, oh, you could do that?
Do me.
And we'll be at a bar. And actually I asked him, I cracked my neck. It was all messed up. And then he had a line of like 3 people asking him to do that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are like, tell me more about my traumas. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, I am chilling. Like I ain't trying to do this, but it's super interesting because you can like either hold space for somebody that needs to have the space held for them or.
But I'm guessing it's got to be in a place where you're ready to hold space, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to do it in a bar when you're doing that paka.
I'm learning a lot of new phrases and words today.
NLP and paka.
Yeah, I like paka. Yeah,
that's a good time over here.
Jennifer.
You can say Jen, but
Jennifer Hazzard.
Double N Jen.
Double N Jen.
Double your pleasure, double the fun.
Yeah.
Well, 2 N's, 2 Z's.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Cool. She's a lot of fun. I love having you around. It's always like uplifting, life of the party. It's never a dull moment.
We always have a good time.
We always have a good conversation too.
Always a good conversation. Yeah. But that's because, okay, so there's 4 aspects of emotional intelligence and then we can pivot. Self-awareness, self-management, which everybody struggles on, social awareness, and then relationship management. If I was to give anybody an assessment, because it's not a test, there's no right and wrongs, it's just where your baseline is. Relationship management is the number one thing that people always like poo-poo on, but I teach a lot of people self-awareness, and that is like where like the foundation of it. So the more self-awareness that you have, the more social awareness that you can have, that the more self-management that you could have, and then it all comes into like relationship management. So how do you connect with people? And that's what I teach people to do. And like when I go in and I teach social emotional intelligence, I teach people how to connect with themselves as well as other people.
But when you say they poo-poo on it, what do you mean they don't necessarily focus on relationships with others, or they?
Yeah. Like again, people would rather, tick, 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 tick on their like cell phones and actually meet in real life.
Is that because most of your clients are younger, or is it in general now?
In general.
Society. Really?
Yeah.
I'd much rather meet me in real life. Actually, let me rephrase. People I want to hang out with, I want to meet up in real life.
Exactly.
People I don't want to hang out with too much, I'm like, whatever.
If you've never met somebody though, like, are you, how much are you willing to like?
If I've never met somebody, it depends on how my interactions go prior to meeting them.
Exactly.
Right? So if the conversation is good, I mean, there's factors, right? Conversation, how good it is, intellect, physical appearance. If they're an attractive girl and I want to meet her and see if there's anything beyond it. But if we're on the phone and it's terrible, I might think twice about meeting her,
Do you talk to people before you go on dates? Like on the phone? Is that like a must, like a requirement?
If I'm meeting first of all, I barely have ever met anyone in person from these apps. It's rare. Maybe 4 times in my life, 5 times.
I so don't believe that.
No, I swear, because the few times I did.
On all dating apps, you've only met 4 people from dating apps? 4 or 5 people,
yeah.
That's
maybe 6. Yeah.
6 in like
I've matched with a whole bunch and I've communicating, but get to the point where we actually meet. And the first 3, now I have a rule, like you have to do a video chat first.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
Because I met them and they look nothing like their photos. I'm like, hi, who are you?
Is that why you were like, oh, show me your friend? Because I don't believe that that's what she looks like. And I'm like, I swear, I know, that's my friend.
I don't, because it's not necessarily being catfish. It's not like it's a 40-year-old man on the other line, but like the women don't look like their photos. And then I remember asking this one girl, like, hey, can we video chat before we meet? What is this, an interview? Let's just meet up in person. Like, all right, fine. So we set up a time, and I shot her my number. Hey, let me know. Here's my number, by the way. Let me know when you're there. Shoot me your number.
Yeah.
Never heard from her.
Shut up. See, this guy, he was just like,
I think
FaceTime.
Ghosting culture is super heavy in the apps.
Oh, for sure. But like, I was like, this is weird. Like, I don't FaceTime people. Like, I FaceTime my nephews. I don't FaceTime like random people I have never met before. And the 2 times that I have done that, it was them that I was like, I saw like their living conditions, and it was all like
like in the background of the video.
Yeah, and I was like,
how bad was it?
Like, no bueno. Okay, that's keeping it cute.
Like, is the rat
just
climbing
like,
up the wall in the background?
Like, it was not. I was like, no. If you live like this, there's no way that we're gonna be simpatico at all. Like, no. So for me, the 2 times that I've done that, it was bad. So I'm like, no, I don't FaceTime. But I'm like, here's my website. Here's my things. If you want to, like, I'm like, I'm real.
Yeah.
Here's my social media. You can see, and you see my social media. There's like no filters except my sparkle ones that I sing along because that's just fun.
I love the videos. Like we started hanging out more in the past year. Is it like a Saturday, Sunday mornings you send these videos?
Friday mornings. It's like, yay, it's Friday, it's weekend. Woo!
She sends videos. She's filming herself sing a song.
It's my Friday sing-along song morning
The first time I got it, I like,
those are just me texting you, the extra ones. Those are just like outtakes of just fun ones. But I put on social media my Friday sing-alongs. But then there's some days that I just get extra sing-along-y, and then I just send you stupid videos.
They're hilarious. It's so entertaining.
Yeah. The one goal for that is to make anybody smile. And I figured that out a long time ago, that my goal in life, like my lot in life, what I'm supposed to do is just to make people smile. Because even on like your darkest, saddest day, if you can get like a genuine smile from somebody, that's it.
And the great thing is also getting it from somebody, smiling because it's someone's interaction that you don't know, like a stranger. It's so much more impactful as well.
That's a sign of high emotional intelligence as well.
What is
like just conversating with people and getting a stranger to smile, like they don't know you, you don't know them, and just being like, hey, how's your day going? People are like, the Uber driver, he's just like, this was the best ride of my day. Like, this was great. And I'm like,
also, what I do, like, I don't always have money, and I don't always want to give money to the homeless because I'd rather give food or whatever.
Oh, totes.
But I always acknowledge them. Yeah. Always, make sure they know that they're seen, and their response is they're so happy. I'm like, hey, sorry, brother, I don't have. But have a great day. And they're like, you too, man. Like, thank you. I'm like, yeah.
Even like the performers on like the subways and stuff, because people are like, I'm on my phone or I'm listening to my earbuds, and just being like, you're an amazing performer, or, like, I don't have anything but like, bravo. Like this guy on the train today was playing the violin, an amazing performer. And he's just, he's like, here's my card if you want to like look at my stuff on social media. And I'm like, thanks.
So, all right, let's try to figure out a track for this conversation here. What brought you to New York? I kind of want to get more back to your story, right? Like, what brought you to New York in the first place?
So the very first time I came to New York, I was 21, and it was for the Halloween parade. Okay. Because I said I never wanted to come here until I was able to drink. So I was just like, I'm not going there until I'm 21 years old. Vegas, on the other hand, totally went to and was just like, I
hate Vegas.
I know we've already said that today, but so I came 21, and it was at that point, it was not an if I was going to move here, it was a when. And so I graduated college. I moved to Madrid, actually, and lived in Madrid for 6 months. Yeah. And so that was my first like time away from the family. So I was like, okay, can I do this? Can I be away from my family? Can I be away from everything I know? And I'm like in a country that I don't speak the language, and I'm like hanging my like panties outside, like on a line, and like totally like different life of this. I was coming from like French manicures and like name brand things to, I was supposed to stay for 6 weeks. I ended up staying for 6 months, and, was like sleeping on my French couch and doing, whatever. Yeah. I was like in love doing things. Yeah. And so moved back and moved to LA, and was like, nope, LA is too small of a city for me. I think it's like a town. It's not a city. I'm like, LA is just like it's just like a big town. And was able to move with the company I was working for when I was working in fashion, and moved to New York. And that's how I plopped myself here. And I was actually living on 42nd between 9th and 10th, right by Port Authority. Oof. Yeah. In that brown, it was like the tan brown building. Yeah, I was like there, and
that's a rough neighborhood.
I was stupid and thought that I was like, oh, you live where you work, you know, not you live where you go out. So from my bedroom window, I was on the 28th floor. I could see my desk. I was like, there's my office. There's my desk.
That's what you thought. Wow.
And I was just like, yeah, this makes sense. And I stayed there. In the 6 weeks that I lived there, I think I stayed 3 nights because I was just like.
What were you doing for work?
I was working in wholesale fashion, and I was a sales consultant for
Really?
Yeah. And then it was right before, it was 2007. So right before the whole economy took a dump. And it was actually super funny because I got fired from that job. I went in, my sister had flown in from California, and we had gone to breakfast super early. And I was like, here, stay at my house. And I was, I had moved at that point in time. And I was now living on 6th Street in the East Village. Stay at my house, whatever. I go into the office. They come in and they say, so you're under investigation because this girl, we had just come back from a trade show, and I actually had outperformed her, and she was pissed. And we had shared a hotel room, and she said that I had sexually assaulted her in the hotel room. Never happened. But this is how she got me fired in a nutshell.
Wow.
And I was like, wait, so I'm getting fired for sexual harassment of something that I didn't do. And I was like, but you guys made us stay in this same hotel room. This is so freaking crazy. So it was this whole thing. And I was like, wow, this is shady. And then I realized just really how people jealousy and shade and all of this. And I was young. I was 22 at the time, being like, oh, this is great. La, 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 la. I learned real quick, being like, all right, we're grown-ups now. So then I ended up just going home and partying with my sister and being like, whatever, deuces, which was the best thing that could have ever happened to me because I actually left the fashion industry and was like, okay, what do I want to do? And I was really new to New York. I was within the first
Did you stay in New York after you got fired?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So I lived in that little tiny place, but then I was actually sleeping sharing my friend's bed with her in Stuytown. And then I found this apartment on 6th Street and 2nd Avenue. Amazing East Village moment. And I was just applying to jobs and this is Craigslist days. And I was what is this? And they were doing an open call for the Standard in meatpacking. And this was as it was being built and being developed. And they're front desk, concierge. And I, mind you, because when I moved here, I made the decision. I was like, I will own this town. This town will not run me. I will run it. So I would walk around with a Zaga guide and a New York, a Time Out and a New York magazine. And I would just go everywhere. And then I would mark up my Zaga being like, okay, this is what this is. This is what that is. Okay, here's this, here's that, here's this. And knew everything. Best Vindaloo. I know exactly where to go. Best, apple martini. That's when the apple martinis were a thing. I was I know. I'm I know. Employees only. That's where you go. This is that. So I figured all of that out, and they're like, Jennifer, you know New York better than most New Yorkers, native New Yorkers. You could totally be a concierge.
Well, it's funny. That's still the case with a lot of these content creators that do things they do in New York. A lot of them are not from New York. Some of them are, but I respect Katie Romero, who featured us, who I have tons of respect for, is from Texas, but she features places in New York. But a lot of the places she features are mom and pop shops that have been forever and features a cool spot. So that's why she gets that pass. She's cool,
There's different things, and I follow New York bucket lists and all the other things, and some of them are they worth it? Are they not? But that's how I was okay, I can totally do this. So they did a group interview, and it was probably 20 of us, and they're okay, what position are you going for? And I'm concierge, and they're okay, name. I even forget the question, but it was name in this neighborhood. Where's 3 places that you can get a really good bowl of pasta? And I was boom, 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 and they're just okay, she's on to the next round. And I'll never forget it because I was wearing the American Apparel high-waisted leggings, and I had this ruffle top and this one of the designers I had repped, McGinn thing, and patent leather pumps, and I was yeah, look good. And I was schwitzing, dying, because it was August, and I was I'm not taking this blazer off, freaking blazers, because I was just not, it was not cute. And we were at B-Bar on Bowery, and I was talking old school now. It's just an empty lot. But I had gone behind the bar and made water pitchers and got cups. And I was just okay, who's thirsty? And one of my very best friends, this is how we met. She's whatever this girl's position that she's going for, hire her. Because the fact that she just took the initiative to be who wants water?
Yeah.
And just started going around and doing all of that kind of stuff. But from that job, I got to learn the city. This is when I know we partied and raged together in our yesteryear days. I knew the city. I knew everybody. Everybody knew me. I made some of my very best friends were from this time period in my life. And then it also like skyrocketed me into different hospitality aspects of my career. And then in 2017, when like my body was old and was like, you can't work in hospitality and works, these crazy hours anymore. That's when I was like, what do I want to do? And so I started taking all of these aptitude tests and assessments and things.
What gave you the wherewithal to do those tests to figure out what you want to do next?
Oh, because I was like, what do I do?
I know, but usually when people think, what do I do? They think about what their passion is, do like a pros and cons list or whatever, and then
I did all
see what's
that.
available. But what made you do aptitude tests? Like, I don't know anyone who's done that to figure out what
like
they
a
want to do
Myers-Briggs?
I mean, to find out what they want to do next in their career? No.
I'm special. No, I don't know. I had taken it when I was in high school and was like, oh, I should do this, like, because this should be, this tells you what you're good at, what you're naturally good at. And so then, like, instead of a pros and cons list, I wrote down, like, here's all of the things I'm naturally good at. Here's all of the things that, like, I fucking hate, like math. And like, okay, what makes sense to this? And then I took the Myers-Briggs and I took all of these other things and I was like, okay, everything's kind of circling around life coaching. And then I went to my circle of trust friends and was like, okay, if I was going to be an astronaut, and this was before Blue Origin and all of that kind of stuff, when anybody can just fly up to space. But I was like, if I said I was going to be an astronaut, like, I'd hope you say, maybe not, Jennifer, you're a little old to like start to like go to school and figure out how to do all that sciencey stuff. Yeah. So why not, I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking about being a life coach. And everybody was like, Jiminy Crickets, you should have been doing this your whole life because this is just so you. And that's what segued me into that.
We've had 2 life coaches on this show, Brian Winston and Garnett Strother. Garnett I think they both did the NLP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great segue into kind of the world of it and then understanding it again.
Their previous career was personal training. So dealing with people, and basically they went from helping them with the physical aspect to mental aspect. Yeah.
So I went from fashion to hospitality, which is like helping people.
For sure. I
was like, and it's learning personality, people, traits and things, and like, and every single aspect of hospitality, and where people would like anything and everything that could happen in hospitality, and like to like with a human connection. Even like I've had people spit in my face. I've had people say like, call me like bad names and all of this stuff. And it's just like, you keep that even keel and, you never escalate a situation. You always de-escalate a situation.
I mean, good for you being able to de-escalate someone spitting in your face.
Well, I was like, okay, so here's what's going to happen. And that's pretty much what I had already seen that people were trying to go upstairs to the boom boom room. And I was just like, I'm sorry, I have no say in this. It's not a fit. Like it's in this building, but I can't get you in. And just like in my face. And like I had already, obviously there's cameras, it's in a hotel lobby. And, like that white wall that, I already saw security coming around. So I'm like, okay, so this is what's going to happen now. And they were guests at the hotel. And I was like, you're going to be escorted out, like upstairs, you're going to pack up. And this is what it is. And they were like blacklisted from the hotel pretty much immediately.
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah. But again, like I've had people shove me and push me and like do things. And I'm like, all right, so here's what's going to happen now. And then again, just dealing with, you have your staff and you have your team, and then you have the guests and dealing with them, and people like, if you're at a host stand and people want to get seated and their table's taking a long time, or you have crazy chefs who just they're upset and they're just keep on dumping out the pastas.
So in 2017, you left hospitality and you started your path towards being a coach.
That is correct.
What was that? How did that lay out as far as the timeline?
So
what'd you do?
I left Soho House August 2017, figured out that I wanted to become a life coach in October of 2017, and started to get all of my like accreditations.
What accreditations are required to be a life coach? Because it's you're kind of being their therapist in a way, but you don't have a psychology degree.
That is correct.
Right.
So some life coaches don't have any accreditations. So
what are they?
They're just like, I'm a life coach. I'm really good at giving you advice. And so that's why you always look, if you're ever hiring a life coach, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that they're accredited. But again, some people aren't, and that's totally fine.
Is it though? It's not okay.
You know, some people made careers off of it. I'm, who am I to judge? I went and got the accreditation because I had like imposter syndrome. So I was just like, hey, let's get accredited in everything. So I got my master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming. I got certified in ontology, which is the study of being, like, who are you being when?
Where do you get these? I mean, are these schools that offer these? Like universities or?
I went through like their accreditation, like programs, accreditation schools. And so like the ontology was a year-round program that you did, where the NLP was like an intensive, like 10-hour days for 16 days straight, like full on, like game changer of life. And then I started studying meditation because I was like, I want to incorporate this. I started studying and got certified in EFT, emotional freedom technique, which is like the tapping, all of that stuff. And so I just kept on getting like certifications and everything because I was like, okay.
I mean, if I was looking for a life coach, I'd want somebody with as much education and certification and licenses and degrees as possible.
As possible, right? So again, it was me just having master, like, who wants to listen to me? And then I finally was just like, fuck it, Jen. You like need to go out and like actually get clients.
So how did that work for you? How'd you start?
Word of mouth, actually. Unlike still.
Was your first client like your friend?
It was a friend of a friend, because I can't coach like my friends because I have like a personal stake into it.
Yeah.
Or like same thing with family. I'm like, here, like I'm putting my life coach hat on, and then I give like my friends or people advice. I'm like, but I can't actually coach you. So with my, like, that's how I got my first client. And that's how I've pretty much gotten all of my clients, and then going into companies and things like that, doing events and doing different things. And that's how I've gotten all of my clients since then.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like all like word of mouth and people just being like, hey, or even random things like on like Nextdoor app.
What's that?
Like the Nextdoor app, like the neighborhood app.
Yeah.
That you're like, hey.
So is that that's your full-time gig now?
That's partially my full-time gig. How about this? It's what I love doing. It's like what I have a strong passion for.
So how do you make a living otherwise?
I have other plus side projects. So
I know one of them, but other than the one I know, we'll jump into that.
That's pretty much that, like that other one.
And so that and the other one.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, a lot of people, I did a lot of career coaching, but a lot of people didn't want to. I had stuff booked on like events for companies and things like that, and then everything went like no. So I'm like, all right, let's be creative. How are we going to be able to stay in New York, pay your bills, do all of this kind of stuff? And that's when I was like, ta-da, creativity and thinking outside the box.
And you want to tell us what it is?
So I have an OnlyFans account for my feet, and it's called Tasty Toes NYC, and I put food on my feet.
But just to be clear on how you do that, it's more artistic than it is. It's not like you're just slapping marinara sauce.
Oh, no.
No,
it's
but we curated. Did that. I know you did that. You sent me the photos. It's like, who murdered your feet?
I was like, Rigatoni Toes. That was the name of that series.
That's right.
That was like the third series we did. And so no, I wanted it to be.
It's artistically done. It's
I
nice.
wanted it to be artistic and not just like, oh, like here's my crusty feet, or like here's like whatever, So I was like,
I think the story about how you got into this is even better.
Okay,
let's hear the whole thing. The podiatrist, the ex-boyfriend,
all of the things. Yeah. So I was like, all right. Honestly, I had seen something that somebody had like made. Oh, okay, I remember now. Boom. There was a girl that on OnlyFans, she posts every Thursday, and she wears like a Burning Man outfit with like pasties, doesn't show anything. She does a 45-minute DJ set, and she made $250K this was 2020.
Oh, damn.
Or 2021. But I was just like, and music was like shit. I was just, I was like, so wait a second. Here's this girl that's wearing like pasties and like a, mesh top doing a DJ set and made this much money off of just this. I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm going to, let's be creative. And I'm like, I don't want anything that has my face or like, I'm not trying to like show my like pretty kitty off, So I'm like, all right, what do I feel comfortable with? And like, what is actually something I can do with this? So my ex-boyfriend of when I was 21 years old, when I lived in Madrid, was obsessed with my feet. Like I gave him like foot jobs and and just a major foot fetish, and just was obsessed with my feet. During the pandemic, he like, I'm going to send you $200 and send me an old pair of shoes, because he likes like the imprint of the shoes. And he had been going to like vintage shops and buying them, but he was like, no, I want yours because your feet are the best. And I'm like, all right.
We can't kink shame though.
I know. I'm like, hey, you support me with all of your amazing things. So I went, he's trying to look at my feet. He's like, well, look at my feet.
That should show on the camera.
I know. I'm like, no. I was like, I got my sneakies on.
Just a sidetrack because, all right, so Tony, she tries to get her. She's like,
Tony's a tattoo artist in the studio. Yeah.
So she told her wife, she goes, why don't you go on like Foot Finder and start selling
Feet Finder. I'm on that too.
To start selling pictures of your feet. And then she started to look into it. It's like, well, you need to have like a following already for, feet. Then you can start building. Like it was a whole week. It was like a whole, like we talked about this for an entire week.
I mean, I spoke
so she's going to be mad as hell that she wasn't here to hear this.
Oh yeah. She has to watch the episode.
So it's Feet Finder, Fansly, OnlyFans.
And these are all kind of obviously Feet Finder sounds specifically just for feet, but the other ones are
open. Yeah. But then I had to go on. That's why I started on Field, because that is like very niche marketing.
Explain what Field is.
Field is a dating
I didn't know about
app.
Field until we met up a couple months ago, and you're showing me, and I'm like, super intriguing. I'm like, send me some screenshots of these profiles.
And it is a Field is a dating app for people that like.
It's a kink dating app, right?
It's like their freak flag flies high, or they're looking for
like a lot of freak flag flies high.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of alliteration.
Onomatopoeia, right?
Alliteration. Onomatopoeia sounds. Yeah. Alliteration. But so anyways, so I was like, okay, but you can't promote it on there. So I kept on getting kicked off of Field because you can't actually promote on there. Yeah. But I was like, oh yeah, here's the stuff. But I got a lot of
it's good to know, because I was gonna promote outsiders on Field.
Yeah, I'm like, I got subscribers and things like that from there, and they're like, oh, you're famous.
Did you get a lot of subscribers from Field?
Yeah.
How many?
I couldn't even tell you.
I know when we first started, we were trying to figure out ways to like get some marketing promotion.
And that's why I was like, okay, let's be creative. And then there's FetLife, and that is just too mucho. Like,
what is it?
It's another dating app, but again, if it's like you're really into this, and again, you have to be like, yeah, Zaddy, come on my feet, and like the back and forth that you have to do is just like so tiresome, because you're just like, oh yeah, like I like love to put like marinara on my toes. I don't. It's actually
also like fun. A chat as well.
Yeah, you have to like put effort into it.
You want something more like passive income.
Exactly.
Stare at my feet. Give me some money.
Look at my feet. They're cute. Yeah. You can like print them out and put them on posters and like in your bathroom or something, or in your kitchen. And it's like, this is art.
You do have postcards now though.
I do. I was
where are they?
They're there on the table, I think. Postcards, stickers. I had my toe. I did sweaters. Oh, merci. See?
All right.
Those are the most popular ones.
Which ones? These?
Yeah.
So I can barely. This looks okay. So this is like a hot dog foot hot dog situation
with ketchup and
Is it in? It's clear. All right, and then there's
it's
this.
Clear, but I can scan them in later, and I can actually just superimpose them.
That was the very first shoot.
One?
Yep, exactly. That was done in my kitchen. That one was done in my backyard.
And these are stickers.
Yeah, and then that's corn. So I had to get on the corn kick. That I think is just the Sunday.
I'm gonna slap this on my suitcase.
My mom was in town for the Halloween shoot, and she was like dipping candle wax on my feet.
Your mom was partaking in
this. She freaking was loving all of it, and like she just thinks it's hysterical. And she takes my little totes. She has Sunday toes on, and she
knows. It's not like you're like, this is my artwork. She knows what you're doing.
Oh, my 4 and 8-year-old nephews, like they see it and they're like, that's TT's business.
Oh my god.
And so I photo shoot, or I FaceTime them during the photo shoots, and they're just like, what are you putting on your feet? And like we did like a sausage shoot the other day, which was buffalo wings, ranch, buffalo sauce, ranch, teriyaki, and barbecue.
So this is Tasty Toes is the name of your business.
Tasty Toes NYC, because Tasty Toes was taken.
Oh, and
I like the alliteration, so Tasty Toes, and that's where I was just like, what can I do this? So, well,
what kind of shoe shop are you going
I know.
to?
I'm like,
well, I mean, it sounds like some place where you could buy like a pair of sneakers or a pair of boots.
Yeah.
Like that's what.
Tasty Toes buy a bite to eat.
Oh shit! I could get Jimmy Choo's over there. Like, that's what it sounds like.
Well, I did the whole Christmas shoot, and I wore Louboutins, and because they're like sparkly, and then I like wrapped my feet up in like light Christmas lights and tinsel and all of that kind of stuff. And then I did create a like an ugly Christmas sweater off of it. So I was like, hey, here's this on my like little merch page.
Can do really well for you. Why don't you get like really creative with the merch?
I test things out, but again, I bought a whole bunch of stuff for my friends so they can like be wearing it. Again, my mom goes to like, the market with her freaking my like Sunday toes, and people are like, what is that? And they're like, so, but I got the idea of being like, okay, I have cute enough feet to do this. What's something? It's a very saturated market, so if you're trying to do it, have a niche.
Mention a podiatrist.
So I was like, okay, do I have cute enough feet? And at the time, I was going to see a podiatrist because I have plantar fasciitis because I'm old.
That sucks.
Yeah, and I was like, so my podiatrist, an amazing human being, but I flat out was like, hey, I got a question for you. Like, do you think my feet are cute enough to have an OnlyFans? And he's like, this is the first time I've ever been asked this. And I was like, I'm sure it probably won't be the last. But he's like, yeah, you do actually have really cute feet. And I'm like, yeah, I do. So that's why I was like, okay, confirmed. We are doing freaking feet. And then I was like, what's my niche going to be? And I was like, why not put like food on my feet and call it like Tasty Toes? And then that's where it was kind of born into it. And
it's full on photo shoots.
Yeah. And we have like the seamless in the back, and we change out. So if it's like, like Halloween, we did a black one. We did for the summer, and like the picnicky ones, we did like the checkerboard. We do white, just depending on what's going to show the best.
Right.
So
now, do you mind having your clients, your life coach clients, find out about Tasty Toes?
No.
You don't care?
No, I'm very like unabashed about it. Because again, it's like, it's more fun and art than it is like
sexual porn.
Yeah, like sexual porn. Don't get me wrong. There's like bananas and like things that you're just like, it's very phallic looking things.
Or corn and bananas, yeah.
Corn. And then like there's things where I'm like mushing things around, and like the people like the messier the better. If it's like, that's why I did sauce. But like rigatoni toes and like marinara.
Are you communicating with these viewers at all?
Like there is like that, yeah, Zaddy, come on my feet. And like that stuff that you kind of do all of that, but it's not, it's very, I'm kind of more hands off, just being like, you like this?
Yeah, your feet on.
Great. Yeah, I'm feet on, hands off. But it is, again, thoroughly entertaining. And it's, for me, it's, now we've gotten the shoots down like pretty good. Shout out to my boy Matt, who does my photography, and Lee, my girl. They do the photography, and then I always have friends that are like, I'm like, I need an assistant. Like, who wants to come over and pour sauces onto me? And like, once you've done it once, people are like, yeah, anytime that you want, I'll be there, because it's about 2.5 hours. Again, we were doing like 6 different things, and then we realized 4 is our sweet spot, because I'm like pony toes or like bow toes or like prancer and like doing things.
Are you doing video too?
Oh yeah. You got to put the videos on the OnlyFans. People want that stuff. Yeah.
Would you be kicked off for putting those videos on YouTube?
No.
But then the people aren't paying for it though.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was like, yeah, but no, like the mushing around and I'm like, ooh, la, so sexy. Versus the stills. And
wait,
but
can you do ASMR with that stuff too?
Oh yeah.
There are some things that are definitely, but again, like I've had to edit the sound out a lot, because, and you can probably relate to this, because we're talking and there's music on, because we're doing this at my house, and you have somebody that's like drunk, or like somebody's laughing because they're putting freaking like chocolate sauce or like mayonnaise down my leg. And so there's some things where I'm like, okay, silence on set, and then there's somebody's just laughing the whole time, you know, and they're just, or you're like, get like that from like the end of the bottle.
Right.
So I got it. And then one of my friends is so like him and his partner's like liberal, like rah, all over your feet, and he's like daintily like drizzling, and I'm like, no, like go, like throw it on, this is a video, just keep fucking going. And he's like and then you do the mush where it's like,
so how well is this doing for you?
Always could be doing better. It's like 2.5 hours of just pure like laughing hysterically, and the fact that I make money off of it is like just an added bonus.
You are making money on it.
Yeah.
Is it like worth your time yet?
It's getting to be worth my time.
Right.
But the first probably 6 months, I'm like, okay, is this worth doing? Or am I just having fun with my friends doing this? And now it's like, okay, you know, here's other things. And again, being creative. And then I give everybody stickers and like guerrilla marketing, and like all over New York City, there's like my toes. And like I live in Brooklyn, and my neighborhood is plastered, and my neighbors are taking photos, and they're like, your feet are everywhere.
Yeah, Sarah was putting that on.
I know. I freaking died. I loved it. I was like, yes. And that's, again, it's fun and it's a good time. And it's like, for me, it's like art. It's not like there's a hint of sexuality involved into it, but no, I think
it encompasses your personality perfectly.
Exactly. Yeah. And all of my clients, you know me, like, and my personality. So that's why I'm like, I don't care. Like, This is just an extra part of who I am. I consider it like a part of like my Batman. Like, people know like my Bruce Wayne, and like this is this, but I'm also Batman. And so like, I'm Batman, but like you might not see Batman, but you see my Bruce Wayne, or vice versa. Some people just see my Batman, and I'm like, yeah.
So if you could choose to do, if you had the opportunity to do either one full time, which one would you choose?
Oh, I would choose my coaching, because that's like my passion, and that's
that.
Like, this is fun, and this is artistic, and this, like, knock on wood, that this will be like, great, this pays for all of my living, and then what I get to do like in my normal real Bruce Wayne life, and be like, do my passion. I'm
hoping you make as much as that girl who sells farts in a jar.
Yo, Tom Bien.
Yeah, 50,000 a week.
Yeah,
is it 5,000 a week?
No, it's more than that. Jeez. It's like, yeah, and she's like just like in a jar, and I'm like, how do you even catch that? Do you like eat a whole bunch of chili and like just wait for it, or what? Like, how does somebody like, I don't know. When hey, guess what? I toot. Everybody toots, but I don't like plan for it. It just kind of it happens. So I have no idea. And we were talking about how like, you should
do like a collaboration with them and call like Farty Feet or something like that.
Well, I'm have gotten sponsors for Tasty Toes.
Yeah. Oh, you have?
Yeah. Lacka Burger was my first sponsorship, and then I've reached out to other I'm trying to do female-owned New York-based companies.
There's a beer company, Back Home Beer.
Wait, did you say a hamburger company?
Yeah. That was a really good shoot, actually. Well, it was really funny because the first time I put my foot down on it, it was like ballet toe, and the burger went whoosh and like shot across the room. It was really, really funny. But then we figured it out. But that's also a really good video, because it was like, there was like pickles, and like they were like assembling the burger on my feet and like slapping it down, and like the red onions and tomatoes, and then so just like sauce everywhere. That was a really fun day. But that was my first sponsored shoot. But that's what I've been reaching out to other companies to say like, hey, would you be interested in doing like a collaboration?
And what do you offer in return? Like, you tell them about your fan base, your viewership, and all that?
Yeah.
What is your viewership right now?
I think there's like 6,000 followers on Instagram.
On Instagram is 6,000?
Yeah.
What about your other platforms?
Well, Feet Finder, they pay per picture, so you don't really have like a following. They just buy buy per photo or something. Yeah, and they do.
It's like stock photography.
Yeah, and it's like here, instead of what is it? Instead of like intellectual property becomes like domestic property, and they buy it like it starts at $4 per photo. Versus if you're doing like an OnlyFans, like that's a subscription that you have access to everything, but then it's not domestic property.
Gotcha.
Because it is part of this other stuff. But again, like my face, my face isn't on there.
We should have you in the outdoors in the woods, sticking your feet in bushes and shit like that.
I've been trying to do. That's the goal, is to be like to get sent on location somewhere and like Tasty Toes in the sand with like a little pina colada, holding like the cup and like holding it. Dude, it's a lot of practice to actually be able to like learn how to hold. You're
probably doing all this stuff that I recently slightly tore my calf. So I'm doing all kinds of physical therapy where it's like bring the toes up, all this stuff. You're probably doing physical therapy right now for Tasty Toes.
It's all like
the strongest ankles on the planet right now.
You wouldn't believe, and like you're like trying to hold your balance, and because you're like standing on like one thing or whatever, or you're up and it's like Pilates, like you're like, and towards the end, my whole body is like this, and somebody's holding my feet until they're like, okay, and go. And I'm like, and then like my feet drop, and I'm like, okay, don't shake. And then they're like, that
could be the money shot.
Yeah. And I'm like, but then we get a photo of my feet because it's like real, or like if you're like spraying something on it, like the White Series, it was great because then it just looked like splattered.
What's the progression of this? We obviously life coaching. We know what you want to do, right? You want to continue building your client base, improving their lives, and so on, and maybe eventually like take on less clients, increasing your rate, depending on your clients, whatever you decide to do. That seems like the path, right?
Yeah.
Tasty Toes. What are you trying to do with it? Like you're gonna keep on like let's say it blows up. You're gonna like really push the envelope and get like, more movie style footage. More. What are you gonna do?
I would like take requests. Like whatever you want. A lot of people like want like certain nail polish colors. That's a big thing. Blue nail polish is a thing. A lot of people ask for blue nail polish, which I don't think photographs really well. But it's
psychologically in photos, blue actually, if you put blue in a photo, it's going to get liked more than if it's like a red tone.
Yeah. So I was like that. And then again, just it's fun. Like it's a good time. It's entertaining. You should totally come over and assist one time. I'll
throw some stuff all over you.
I know. And then we did like a pie series. We did a pasta series. We did like where I had like carbonara, where it was like an egg running down my leg. It was
like the Persian food series.
Yeah. Like I was, or Indian, and like have like vindaloo or something. Again, if anything, like you got to make sure and be mindful of like what's spicy and things get into places. Like the White Series, we did milk, and I was like, this one, it didn't photograph very well, but it fucking got everywhere. And then I was like, sitting in milk, and I'm like, this isn't good. But knowing like what people like and what's fun and doing different things and being creative about it. It's definitely like a creative outlet versus like going into like coaching brain. So it's like a different part of the brain, and it's fun and it's a good time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I like doing both because again, it's like, this is fun, and like release it. Like the next day, I'm telling you, I feel like depleted because I like released all of these endorphins, and like, I felt like I did like ecstasy because we were just like having so much fun and like laughing, and like you're crying, laughing, and like the behind the scenes of like somebody's like sitting on me and like, or like I have like an ass in my face because they're bending over, right. And that's
kind of like how I feel after like a week long trip for Outsiders, after a weekend of Outsiders trips. I'm like, I'm dead. I don't feel good. I'm happy, but I'm just like,
I'm depleted.
Yeah.
I'm done. And then I was like, why am I depressed? Like, I feel like a little depressed. And I'm like, oh yeah, because we did Tasty Toes last night. And like, it's so like, we always have so much fun.
You get down to feeling like, that down, huh?
That down. Because because you're just like laughing hysterically, and I'm with my friends and we're being silly. And like, I'm like, I'm not like a graceful person, even like schlepping up things. I'm like a bull in a china shop and like floppy. Like you've seen me on hikes. I'm not like a gazelle by
You're
any means.
fine. You have this image of yourself, which is terrible.
Like, blah, 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 blah,
and you wrote an amazing article. We're launching a blog series for Outsiders. So the first article is going to be the question I get every time I do Outsiders. It's why did you start Outsiders? And I'm happy. And I love the fact they're asking me because they're interested, right? But now I can always reference them to, because there's also stuff I forget. Like I'm on a hike, I'm talking to people about how I started it, and I forget, like, the story changes a little bit no matter who I'm talking to, because I might be thinking of one thing one day and another day. So I threw it all out in this article, and I think everyone's going to start adding things, like fun things like, what to pack, or 5 things to pack, or what's your favorite hikes, but also more about, like, you wrote about
getting out of the comfort zone.
Yeah. Which is very important too, because people come by themselves, and sometimes just showing up by themselves is out of their comfort zone. So I'm excited.
I was always impressed by like the people that do show up by themselves. And even we did the Rockaway one, and people were coming like late into the day, and they were just like, "This is great, this is amazing," and they just came by themselves. And I'm like,
I'm actually I'm impressed by that, and not so a little envious too, because I don't know if I would do that normally. I mean, I've shown up to stuff by myself, but like, I give them credit. I commend them for doing that.
I think you would totally do that by yourself.
I don't know if I would do a hot sauna cold plunge by myself. I'm also not one that would like go out of my way to do that kind of activity all the time, and that's something that my friends would want to go to anyways. I don't know.
For me, it's a social thing. But like the first one, I was like wearing all the bright colors because I was positive I was going to be like medevaced out of there. So I was like, I want the helicopter to be able to see my ass. Remember, I had the yellow.
Yeah, this tie-dye.
And it was yellow, and then I had
I loved having you there. It was so
and I was
much
like
fun.
yellow hat. I was like, and then my orange jacket.
Yeah, you did fine. You were so worried, but then like you were fine.
Oh, there was bouldering. You were like, oh, this is like for all levels. I was like
Scrambling.
Oh, you call it whatever.
Scrambling, bouldering, it wasn't as bad
boulders.
as yeah, whatever.
And like I'm like shimmying down this.
It was fun though.
It was fun. I had a great time.
Fun.
But I was the guy behind me. He's just like, you've got this. Like you can.
Oh, it was like your motivator.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know if I do. And I was like, like I smoke a lot of weed.
You didn't come solo to that, did you? You brought
my buddy Nathan.
Yeah. Who he was struggling a little bit.
Oh.
He was struggling more than you were.
I know. I was like, he was dragging up the rear. So I did not feel as bad, but I'm like, okay, I can do this. Here's this.
You crushed it.
Yeah. And then we went on the pumpkin patch one, and then he's like, Jen, we're not like family. So like, let's not do family outings. And I'm like, I loved it. That was great.
That was fun with you guys.
Because I was hanging out with the kids, and I love kids. For some reason, kids love
me. It's a nice, when you don't have kids around you, it's nice to get that little, because kids, they kind of make you forget the stresses, everyday stress. Come on, you got to pay attention to them, right? They demand a lot of attention.
That is true.
But it's also nostalgic, like talking to a kid and seeing what the hell's on their mind. Like they have no care in the world. That's
what I always say is the kids and old people, like it's the beginning and ends. I was like kids because they're so imaginative and creative and have like everything that they'll just say it.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes, this is great. And you can just like soak all of that up. And then like old people, like they've lived their lives and they have like the best stories.
Yeah, and they revert back to childhood in a way as well.
I'm like, but if you think like A to Z, like the dash, I'm like the dash is like, yeah, it's the journey and all of that kind of stuff. But it's like, okay, I'm on that part of life. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, versus somebody that's like in their 80s or 90s. And I'm like, just tell me stories.
Yeah.
And they're like, when I was little. And I'm like, yes, tell me more. Exactly. And like little kids. And I'm like, so like, what do you do for fun? And then they just like go off, and I'm like,
well, that's my next question for you.
What do I do for fun?
Yeah.
What do I do for fun? I send my friends videos.
What do you do for fun? I mean, obviously in New York, we talk about hanging out with friends. I know you're very much about hanging out with friends, but it tends to be in bars and restaurants, which is cool because those environments can be fun. But what do you do otherwise?
So one of my love languages is like acts of service and so for me, I need words of affirmation, but I show my like love for people with acts of service and gifts. And so I combine that with like cooking for people. And so that is like, I have a house that is, great to entertain, and I have a little backyard. So in the summertime, I'm like, just come over. Like, we don't need to go out. Just come over. Like, even in like,
so like the host.
Yeah. Like come over. We'll hang out. We'll hang out in the backyard. We'll do a fire pit. We'll barbecue.
Yeah.
Or like, I did like a pumpkin painting party for Halloween, and just like have people over, or, and like do game nights. And that's super fun. I'm up in the clubs and all of that stuff. I'm like old where I'm like, what? It's so loud in here.
I think I like the bonding effect that cooking together has, or like, breaking bread and being part of the process.
Exactly.
I love that.
And having that connection and socializing, or going for like walks in the neighborhood, or just like going and like wandering and meeting people. Like I like to go for walks. So like I met my friend Matt, and like, cool, let's meet in Washington Square Park, and let's go on like coffee shop hopping. Because it was the middle of the day. So I was like, let's go to like, so I had done all my once a concierge, always a concierge. Yep. So I had figured out 3 different coffee shops of places that I wanted to go to, and like put in a couple pastry places as well. So we like hit up 3 different coffee shops and just kind of wandered around and caught up and talked, like smoked a joint, and it was great and amazing. And then we're like, nosh, nosh, nosh. I was like, I'm hungry. I got the munchies. Give me some food. But then I got to see a whole bunch of places and try a whole bunch of different things versus just like
doing that. Basically using New York City as a playground and running around.
Yeah. And like wandering and seeing things and like going to a lot of museums, going to Broadway shows, or going
I want to get you to more outsider stuff. I kind of want to get you. We talked about getting you on the team.
I know.
You still want to do that?
I'll do that for sure.
All right, let's talk about that.
Again, it's all about, for me. It's just all about connection.
Exactly, and that's the reason why I think you make a great addition to the team. Plus, using your NLP stuff to
NLP,
NPL,
NLP,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what did I say? NLP.
I don't know what you said.
NLP.
I also take a lot of classes.
National Linguistics Program, right?
Exactly. I take a lot of classes. So I just finished up a knitting class because again, I'm like turning into like a 95-year-old. Yeah. But I think it's really cool to be able to create something with your hands and be able to like wear, give, or do that kind of stuff. So I'm like,
Did you make that sweater?
No, I'm making. I'm not this great yet. But I'm making scarves or tote bags for people.
You gotta start somewhere.
I know, and it's fun to just sit there and like and do and create that. So there's that class. I'm in an intermediate level of ASL, which you know, because I always am like using sign language. Yeah. Because again, I think it's a missed opportunity to connect with the hearing impaired or deaf community, and that is why I started taking it. Is because again, I just think it's a missed opportunity that you can be able to connect with the people being able to do that. And again, as we all age, our hearings are going to shit, especially with the fucking pods that we're all gonna, 65, what, and the hearing aids. So I'm like, why don't we be able to just use ASL and be able to connect and communicate and not miss a beat with any of that. So I'm doing that. And then I'm taking 2 neuroscience classes because again, I'm obsessed with how the brain works.
Okay.
So I always learning, love of learning, huge. So if I'm not like having people over or doing something or like, oh, let's go wander, let's go explore, let's go putz around, or go to a museum exhibit like the Photografia.
I always went to the hip hop exhibit.
I know. I was so jealous because I've been trying to go for.
Let me know. I have a membership there, so.
Oh well, then
we'll go. Actually, if you want to go, Bams, I know you're big into that. You want to go to that?
Let me know if you want, whenever day you want to go.
Time, let's go. Maybe Sunday.
That works.
You work this Sunday?
I work Sunday at night though.
Oh, so you can
all right, cool. Let's do it.
But yeah,
you want to join too? Let's do it. Let's make it a group outing.
I'm down to go. It's like the 50 years of hip hop. So
it was dope.
Yeah. But going to like that or going to the New York Museum when they did what was it, 1975 to 1985 or 1989, the music in New York. And that was a freaking awesome exhibit because it was like Madonna, Talking Heads, and like hip hop and all of these people. So it was just cool to go and like bounce around to different museums. And we did 2 museums because we saw the David LaChapelle event or exhibit before or after that. So we went uptown, saw that one exhibit, went and had lunch at ABC Kitchen and had like a couple of drinks. And then we went there and I was like, we're so cultured. It was a day of culture.
What advice would you give high school you?
Oh, obviously that's a good question. High school Jennifer Hazzard. I was like, at what grade? Like freshman or senior year?
Oh, I wasn't even thinking that specific. I'm saying in general. You go back and you see you.
I was
like, you want to give
us
both two examples? You can.
Freshman year, I would tell myself to like not take everything so seriously. And my senior year, I was like heavy into like the psychedelics and partying and having a good time. And I would say like to pretty much like, you do you and like enjoy it. So I like don't experience FOMO at my age where I know some people do. And I was like, cause I did it all when I was a teenager in my 20s. So like keep on going. You do you, girl. Yeah. And like, maybe become a life coaching more or like earlier. On. Like early on. I would
you have gone back and studied psychology as like a therapist?
I would go, if I could go back to college, I would have studied like neuroscience for sure.
Okay.
That's, I was just like,
Why don't you?
Why I am now.
Oh, but you doing like
I do that through universities and stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. So are you on the path of getting a neuroscience degree?
No, like I'm not trying to get a degree. I'm just studying it for fun because it's interesting.
Why don't you do the degree part? I mean, if it's for fun, why not?
Because it's like $60,000.
Yeah, but if you take class by class, like you take a couple classes, not full time.
Maybe I will.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I just like it. And I do it for fun because I think
if you like it for fun, read the rewards.
I'd be like, hey, let me tell you about how your brain works. But again, don't mention it on a first date.
No, not involved.
Neuroscience on a first date, we learn. Do not talk about.
What is a dream that you've yet to fulfill and to achieve?
That would be to travel to certain places. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
What's the first spot that comes to mind as you would want to go to?
I'm going to say it as just as a, not being specific, but I will say as a continent, Africa, because I've never been to anywhere in Africa.
Oh, really?
And there's so many places in Africa that I would love to go to.
Mm-hmm.
So anywhere in Africa, I'll go.
I've been to 3 countries, Egypt, Morocco, and South Africa. And I really want to do Dakar, Senegal.
Oh, so you're going like West. I love West Africans. They're like.
But also, I wouldn't mind doing Ethiopia, Eritrea. That'd be cool too.
Like you didn't even mention Kenya, which most people do. But I'd even do like Namibia and
Zanzibar,
Madagascar. You guys went to Zanzibar.
No, Tanzania, Zanzibar. We didn't do. We had to switch it up.
Oh yeah, that's right. But like I would go Tanzania, I go to Madagascar, I would go to South America.
Sure.
I would go to, I would totally go to like Botswana and like Rwanda. Like I would go. Like
I definitely want to do West Africa. Like I have tons of friends from Senegal. So
I would go to Tunisia. I'm
going back to Egypt in June.
My upstairs neighbor her family is from Egypt, and so she's like, if you ever want to go, we'll set you up. And I'm like, yes. That was been my childhood thing, is to see the pyramids.
I went to see them in 2007, and my friend who's from there is going with us. He's going again, so that's why I'm going.
Would you say they're like the Mona Lisa was very disappointing to me? Would you say that they're disappointing?
Not at all. It was like spiritual coming up to those things. It was insane. I have video. I remember the feeling I had was I've never experienced that before. And it still happens to this day. Like, it was insane going up to those things. And I have some advice for you, though. They give you a choice, because the pyramid's right in the city.
Yeah.
So you don't think you're in the middle of the desert. You're not. But they give you a choice of, I think you can walk there. Maybe I don't think you can get driven there, but you can walk there, maybe be driven, horse or camel. We chose camel. Oh, we're Egypt, take a camel. Don't take the camel.
I was like, no. I felt like that.
Oh, my God. It chafed my ass so bad. It was like, I got in the shower after that, and that water hit. I saw stars. It was painful.
Would you say horse?
Horse. I mean, I might even walk. I don't know how far. I don't remember. It's a long time ago, but maybe even walk. I mean, a horse could be good, but like, approaching the pyramids was just so amazing. We went inside too. I'm not sure if they're letting people inside anymore, but we went inside the pyramids.
They're finding new chambers and stuff with like.
I'm sure,
X-ray
but just like being in the
stuff.
Sahara Desert, the sun shining, approaching these amazing structural.
I want to be wearing like all white and like have a look for it and just be like.
You should do it up. Do whatever is gonna make you feel good, because it's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing, I have skydived before. I know you want to skydive, even though I was like, Jeremy, let's go skydiving.
I can't do it.
There is a place it's either New Zealand or Australia, but you have to like hike up to this point and then you get helicoptered over to another point. Like, it's like crazy that you have to get up to this point. But it's one of the highest places that you can jump from, and where you jump from, it's like actually right where like the oxygen, like if you went any further, you'd have to get oxygen on. But when you jump, you actually see the curvature of the earth.
Wait, so you jumping from a helicopter?
No, like you get you have to like hike up. My friend did it, and that's actually how she met her ex-boyfriend. It was crazy because they were on this like journey, and she's like, you have to hike up things, and then you like take like something else to get you to another point, and then you jump out, I think, of a helicopter.
Gotcha.
But because you jump out of a plane obviously, but she's like, no, you have to like hike, and you get somewhere and they take you to another point, and then you have to hike up to another point. And then, and she's like, and like, I've seen the photos of where and like, you literally, cause like the guy, has like the little camera, like the GoPro, and you see the curvature of the earth. The GoPro is
probably a fisheye, which is why you see curvature.
Well, no, she said she saw it. And so I was like, and again, I skydiving.
But it sounds interesting. I mean, New Zealand, it's New Zealand, right?
It's either New Zealand or Australia, but I'm almost positive it's New Zealand.
It seems like a magical place. I wouldn't mind seeing that myself.
I'm like, let's jump. Yeah. Like that's again, it's either one or two things. You either it's one of three things. One, you like the free fall time, or you like when like the parachute's out and then you can like zip around, or like you hated it and you were just happy to land.
Or you just like the thrill you have when you've arrived safely.
Exactly. That's like, you know, that person. And I like the falling. I know you're falling, but it's like you're flying. And like that, my first jump was 33 seconds of free fall time. And that was at 10,000 feet. So if you go up to like 18,000 feet, which you can do in Florida and California, your free fall time is about 90 seconds. From here, it's like a couple of minutes that you're getting free fall time in. And like that's...
Does it feel like you're falling?
It's just joy. Like yes, the ground is coming closer to you, but you're like, and like you've already accepted your fate of whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But it's just joy. Like, it's like, yes, I love this moment. This is like life. And you're literally like, it's life or death. You're in that moment. There is no in between. Yeah. You've accepted your fate and you're going. And it's just like the better than any orgasm I've ever had. Like,
oh wow.
Like just like pure bliss and
you should
like
do
joy.
A tasty toes in the air.
My like the skin being blah, 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 like flapping around.
Paint
like,
little smiley faces on your toes.
The guy that was jumping behind me, you can see from photos that he was totally like looking down my like jumpsuit thing. Like,
was he?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he was like watching my like boobalas flap around.
Everything good over here?
Well, yeah, I was waiting for you to start talking a little bit so I can stop on the battery.
Okay, hold up. Go ahead. I'll say something. We're just swapping the battery.
Battery.
So did you say anything back to this dude that was,
no, you got the camera after it.
Were you surprised that he was looking down your shirt during the free fall?
Absolutely.
How long was the free fall? Is that why you want to go?
33 seconds. And then and then like they're taking the photos and they're doing all of that stuff, but I didn't, who cares? I have nice boobalas, so like who cares?
All right, this leads to our next question is, what is your most embarrassing moment? I feel like that's an interesting question for you because I don't feel like you were embarrassed.
Okay, I'll tell you my most recently moment of embarrassment. And so I had these like white, me and like all my colores and stuff, but I had these like wide leg trousers on and they're like purple and like big pants. And so we were at, what's that place called? The corner at, like the Nines Hotel on the Lower East Side. It's like that new hotel restaurant.
The Swan Room.
The Swan Room's in that hotel, but like we were in the restaurant.
Not Orchard.
Yes, but like it's called like the Corners, the name of the restaurant. Corner bar, whatever. And I was having lunch with my friend, and we, I had finished my second glass, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom. They were like, we're at a 2-top. There was a 4-top next to us. You could tell I've worked in restaurants, but just how I talk about it. And there's this girl that had put all of these bags like right here. And so I was just like, I'm just going to like step over the bags. And alas, my purple pants, my foot got tangled up into the wide leg trouser part and I just went fucking down. Like, and this is a small restaurant and it was like, boom, like everyone like looked at me. And I was up in like 2.5 seconds, like boom. And I get up and the first thing I say is like, I was just making sure everybody was awake. Like, cause I was just like, holy fuck. And I realized halfway down that I was like, nope, not going to catch myself. You are about to eat serious shit. And so like, I had like actually like tucked my like arm so I didn't like fall on my elbow or anything like that. So I just went like boom, like flat down, like a freaking domino. I punched my tit so bad. I had a bruise on my fucking titty, like no joke. And so if anything, my boob was like throbbing. And I was just like, okay, is everybody awake now? Okay, great. And everybody's just like, cause it was loud. Everybody's like, are you okay? And like, everybody was freaking the fuck out. And I was just like, all good, all good. I was like, those 2 glasses of wine, no big deal. Like it happens. Like these damn wide leg trousers, what are you going to do? And then I'm like, so where's the bathroom? I'm like, get me the fuck out of here and like make everybody forget what just happened. And again, I was wearing like all the colores, so it was not like silent into the like I was like, here's this girl wearing all of the fucking colors, fucking eat shit. So I go pee and I'm like, dude, my freaking boob. So I like went into the bathroom and I looked and it's like already like bruised. And I was just like, and because it was like boom, fucking titty. It hurt so bad. So I come upstairs and everybody's just like, are you okay? Like their manager's at the table now,
Really?
all of this stuff. And I'm like, oh shit. And my friend who I worked with at the Standard, who's one of my best friends, like knew the hotel manager, and like they had already heard. And I'm like, this was like less than 5 minutes ago. How did everybody already hear about this? And I'm just mortified. And I was just like, yeah, guys, I was just like really like trying to make sure everybody like was awake and like paying attention, like, and she's like, seriously, dude, friend, are you okay? Like that was fucking loud. And
Really?
she's like, she was looking at her phone and she just was like, all of a sudden I just saw purple pants. And it was like flare, like a flag.
Someone scream out timber.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't get very embarrassed very often.
You don't seem like you would.
But, falling down in a crowded restaurant and like everybody, yeah. I was like, okay, there you go. So that was my last time that I can remember.
That's worthy of an embarrassing moment.
Yeah.
Or one of the most embarrassing
And my
moments.
boob was bruised for 2 weeks, for the record.
Jeez.
Yeah, I went freaking down hard and like punched it. And I was like, ow. I still like how I'm like PTSD.
Better than a broken elbow.
That's very true. I was protecting the bones, my fragile old lady bones.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to share? Anything?
My favorite color is red. No, I don't know. I'm a Virgo.
That's it, really?
That I don't know.
Okay, no, that's cool.
I was like, I don't know.
So that leads us to our 5 rapid fire questions. And you want to throw something? Okay, cool.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Not the green one. Well, I brought 2 things.
All right, well, we'll get to that in a second. So 5 rapid fire questions.
Dun, dun, dun.
So you know how that works?
I don't know. Explain it to me just so I'm
gonna ask you some questions you answer right away. All right?
Okay. Just 5.
I might throw in an extra one.
Okay.
First one is, what's your favorite city other than New York City?
London.
Why London?
Because I've been there so many times and I can get around very easily and I have a lot of friends there and I like the history and the culture. And when I go to the English countryside, it is like my ancestors speak to me, like the Cotswolds. It's just a very, very special place.
Really?
And I like don't understand why, but the last time I was there, we stayed at it was a little town called Cirencester, and this old house, the house was built in 1777, and we were walking and they had like horses, and it was funny because she was just like this little English old lady that was like showing around the property, and she's like, and she had a dog that was in heat, and she's like, oh, the bitch, and like I was like, oh, but they had just rescued this horse. And it had just started sprinkling and there was like daffodils and I was just like sobbing. Like, and I was like, I'm just so happy. And like, English stoic people, and my friend who I was with, it was English, is like, I don't know what's wrong with her. Just like you and I keep going. And I was just like, this is just so great. I just love this. It's just like, feels like home.
That's amazing. I can see you doing that. Sounds picturesque though.
I know.
For them, it's like just another Thursday and you're like experiencing this beautiful
I was
scenery.
in awe and just being like, this is just like my favorite place.
Okay, so you worked in hospitality. What is your favorite restaurant, bar, venue in the whole planet? Is there one that stands out like, that's my favorite place?
That is like an impossible question.
I understand, but what's one that you're like, I can go to that place every day?
On it, like if I was saying like what can I eat every single day, maybe it would be like give me a good like a bistro in like Paris, and so I can eat like baguette and like cheese and meatsies and just like.
So I guess that's probably a better question instead of the favorite place. Well, favorite style place would be a bistro, right?
Yeah, something like that. Even like it, not even necessarily like a French bistro, but like maybe Italian. Like where I
have another question to ask you, but I feel like you answered that already. And it was, if you could choose any other profession, what would you do? And I feel like, well, you've pretty much answered that.
Well, okay. Take out all of it. If I could go, if I was like going to completely do a pivot, which is kind of what I did, like I would be like a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah. Or like a professor.
You do really well with kids. When we did that family outing for us, like the kids are.
I love kids. Kids are great. And I have no idea why I
think probably because you're youthful yourself. Like you're kind of like a grown ass child.
It's the Botox. No, I'm kidding. No, it's like the fun to go and hang out with the kids and do all of that kind of stuff. But I would even do, when I started out going to college, I wanted to teach human sexuality to community college students because they're the ones that are the biggest susceptible to STDs and unwanted pregnancies.
Community college kids.
Like 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. And that's all started because my friend at the time, I was 19 and she was 22, and she had never had an orgasm through intercourse. And
you were like, how can this be?
Yeah. And I was just like, we need to spread the education, spread the wealth, spread the knowledge. And so I started taking all of like the sex ed classes in colleges and doing all of this kind of stuff. And then realized, well, one of the best places to get that degree is at Rutgers here in Jersey. But I wasn't ready to move to Jersey when I was 19 years old. / you have to do like 8 years of research. And I was like, I don't want to be in a freaking laboratory doing all of this kind of stuff. I want to be just like talking about sex with people and like their sex lives and being able to cultivate that. Now I kind of do that in like relationships when I do relationship coaching. Yeah. But if I was going to completely pivot, I would do that or be like a kindergarten teacher. So like either teach human sexuality to adults, young adults, or kindergarten, and be like, ABCs, everybody. All
right. I see the correlation. Pedo. All right. So what's your vice?
My vice, I'd probably like, depending on for who, for me,
for you, what I think your vice, like what is like your bad habit or weakness?
I'm like bad habits. I don't know. Some people would say that I like smoking weed.
Okay.
I don't think it's necessarily a vice, but some people would think that is. My sister would say that I'm like not when it comes to dating, that I'm too like, nope, like too quick to be like, not for me, like the connection's not there, or this isn't going to align, or whatever it might be. Mind you, my sister's hasn't been in the dating world in 20 years. So I'm like, how about when you get like, if you get single and you enter the dating world, we'll have a conversation. Yeah. But if you don't know what you're talking about, but that I heard a lot about that when I was home. She's like, you're just like, so like not like open to this. And I'm
maybe they'd be like, well, you're just too open to it.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know.
Okay.
People shaming me for my zip code and being like, you're paying for this date.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous. Never heard that before. What's your greatest fear?
Pain.
Physical, mental, emotional?
No, emotional and stuff I can handle. I'm like, I've done the work for that. Right. But like not death. Like I'm like, oh, we're all gonna die. All of these other things, but like I don't want to have physical pain. So like I don't want to break a bone. I like that's why like hiking and stuff is like I don't want to tumble and like break myself because that's going to be physical pain. Like I wouldn't get a tattoo because I'm like, why would I sit and welcome myself to be in a chair and like have somebody stab me with needles? Like ear piercings. Yes, I have a lot of ear piercings. That's 2 seconds of just dunk and it's done.
Because it's therapy.
See, and like and I'm like, no.
Yeah, I think he's a bit of a masochist.
Yeah, so I like physical pain is, that's why I like drive the speed limit. Because I'm like,
really?
Oh yeah, I'm like, all right, Leadfoot over there, Mom. Like me, and I'm like, slow down. Like, where are you going? Like, do we need to be going that fast? So just like physical pain.
But you sound pretty open in regards to your sexual life. Do you like pain in there? Like
that pain. That is that is like consensual, like spanking, hair pulling, all
right,
of that
but I'm
kind
saying
of
that's
stuff.
still pain.
It's a different context versus like I broke my arm.
Oh,
like
so you don't like
so
accident pain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like for example, I dated this guy who was like a sailor and was really good at like ropes and tying stuff. So we did like some rope play. And like we had like, like green, you're cool, everything's good. Yellow means like, okay, we're getting there. Red means stop immediately, like I'm about to break something. And there was definitely times where I'd be like, red, because my shoulder was dislocating. And it was like in seconds of like, and you're like, okay. But like there was moments of that but that's also trust, communication, and openness and all of that kind of stuff. Being like, where you're like yellow. And so like, that like you're getting there. Yeah. And then like red means like immediately halt right now, untie me. Like I'm like things are going out of
traffic
sockets.
Signs. I drive.
You're like, do you? But yeah, so that, but physical pain versus like sexual contextual things.
I mean, who wants physical pain? Nobody wants it. But how would you if you're working out, sometimes it's painful to get through like the burning sensation of pushing, whatever. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's different. That's
so
like,
it's just like the broken bone,
like the accidental
falling on your titty.
Yeah, fall that to, you know, even like being sick and you don't feel good, to like if you have like my best friend had cancer twice and having to do chemo and having to do all of that kind of stuff, like, and watching her have to go through that physical pain and like pump herself full of morphine and do all of that kind of stuff. I'm like, nope, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that. So like pain, like that's when I'm like, if I like just fall asleep and die, great. Like I don't want to be like stabbed 100 times. Like, no thanks. But I don't know anybody that's like, yeah, that's a great way to go. Or like, you know, like guillotine, like it's quick, you know, versus like hanging, like you're hanging around there for a couple minutes.
Well, actually hanging is, you actually snap your neck on a hanging.
If they did a good job. Otherwise you're like, you know, and like people that commit suicide taking pills, I'm like, that you're like puking and you're doing all this stuff versus like, bam. So again, no physical pain. Like,
understood.
I was like, I don't like sexual pain, you know, again, like if you're going like up the butt, you know, that's a whole thing. Like that could be good. Or sometimes you're like, not today. Like, nope.
Not after that Vindaloo, right?
not after Vindaloo. Or like if a guy has like a freaking like third leg or like a wall of flesh coming at you, you're like, that's not going there.
A wall of flesh.
Yes, that has been a thing. I won't say their name to, you know, they're married with kids now, but he had like a fucking 10-inch dick, and I was like, where is that gonna go? Like, and it was like thick. Like I was just like, it was like coming out.
So what did you bring to eat? What's your favorite food?
Wall of flesh.
What is your favorite food, and what did you bring today?
Okay, so
I had to stop you at the wall of flesh.
I know, it's a thing. It's a moment. So I brought, because I made it, chili that I made, and I brought it specific. It's not my favorite food, but it's one of the favorite things. Oh, see, you even had forks. I brought spoons too.
Oh, nice.
So I brought.
You have two things. You have chili. It looks like chili, and they have green stuff.
Sauce.
What's the green sauce?
The green sauce is it's called like an ají verde. I got some for you too. That you can partake in. Here, Jeremy, eat some of my chili.
Oh my God, how creepy is that?
And the green sauce, pour the green sauce on it. So the green sauce is like an ají verde, which is like a Peruvian green sauce, but it's garlic, jalapeno, cilantro, all of that kind of stuff.
Pass it over here. So
Shake it up.
Is there, want me to pour into like a cup? That cup
No,
over
you just
there?
eat it. I don't care. You can pour it into a cup if you want.
I'll put it in a cup because I don't want to mix all the green into there unless you can eat it all right now. You can't.
Hey, get involved. Eat my
involved.
green sauce. But shake it.
Shake it. All right.
So the green sauce has cilantro, jalapenos, limes, salt, pepper, a little bit of olive oil.
Scopolamine?
It's spicy and it's delicious. Where the chili is, whenever I'm home, my family, sisters, everybody always makes me make the chili for them. It's all on your dietary friendly things. And then again, it just goes into the concept of like, I like to make food that people can eat based on their dietary moments. And as well as, I'm like, I know, give me a fork. I was like,
Ben, you want to try one of these things?
I was like, get it.
All right, let's try. So what's in this chili? And the sauce and all that.
I know, I put too much cumin in that because the cumin came off of the chili on the top. The chili has grass-fed ground beef, onions, cumin, too much cumin, chili powder, kidney beans, and love. Really, really simple, but
what is it about this dish that you like a lot? I mean, obviously it's delicious, but like, there's a story behind it. What do you love?
The story behind it is, again, just this is what I always say. It's like everything that's good is like low and slow. And it's like about the journey. It's not about the destination. And it's like the juice we're squeezing. So it's like, yeah, you can microwave something and throw it in the end, like boom. And like, yeah, you have a meal in 2 minutes versus something like I love cooking for like hours. Like I like to permeate.
I just made the dish I'm most proud of a few weeks ago.
What?
It took 4 hours. It's one of my favorite Persian dishes called tachim.
Oh, I remember you. And you flip the rice.
Yeah, tachim. So it's like this saffron rice with other spices, and so it's a layer of rice, and you put a layer of pulled chicken, also marinated, and you put barberries, pistachios. Then you put another layer of rice and you let it bake, and then you flip it because it's crispy. And it's amazing, and it actually tasted even better the next day.
So I made when I was home. You'll say it better than beef bourguignon. Say it in your French way.
Beef bourguignon.
Yes, exactly. Bourguignon, je m'appelle.
Say it with a mouth full of food. Beef bourguignon is amazing. It's my answer to every dish.
Yeah. So I had made it. That was the second time I made it, and it was my mom's birthday. So I just, I flew in. I landed at 10:30 in the morning, and like by 1, like we had gone to the market, got all of the stuff. By 1, I was cooking it, and like we had it for dinner at 7 o'clock that night. Yeah. But like again, the house.
It's a great bonding experience. We were in the home, like.
Oh, I was with my nephews, and I was like, the 4-year-old, he was cutting with a big knife, but I was like, stop wielding it around. But it was just those moments together of that and like cooking and low and slow and just knowing.
It also makes a home feel like a home.
Exactly. And it's like the chili, it like takes a couple of hours to make, and it's like made with love. That's why I'm like, I don't know.
Well, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, even like words of affirmation to a plant or whatever. Like if you're doing that with your food, it's going to be delicious.
Yeah. So I also just like spicy green sauce, which tastes like
and it cuts it nice. It's a little acidic and
like
limey.
the brightness of the lime.
I like that a lot. And it's visually appealing too. In contrast.
Versus like what is it like?
More red sauce.
Yeah, or like sour cream or something like that. But I like it because it's just I like spice.
I want more of that.
Get it?
Like I want to take it home.
You can take it home. Just keep give me back. I was like, bring my Tupperware back. I'm like, you bring back my Tupperware.
Bring back my Tupperware.
Tupperware is a coveted thing for the record, but
well, that's fancy because that's actually glass. It's not like a plastic.
My mom has some glass when I still have in my house. I'm trying to keep it. She doesn't know about that.
I try to make it so again, like less plastics and things like that, but for storing and whatever. And then also, if you're going to put something on the table and it's already in glass, then you're like, ta-da! It's already fancy. Mm-hmm. It's logic behind it, but that is so. I'm like, chili is not like my favorite thing, but I'm just
What is your favorite though?
Cheese.
Cheese? So what kind of cheese? French cheese?
It varies it's gone from like a smoked aged Gouda to a New York 18-month aged cheddar to fresh mozzarella like a bufala. That's another story.
Another story.
It's my top 5 favorite foods, and then now they're kind of changing because my diet and what my body likes is changing, but it was cheese, bacon, peanut butter, pizza, and chips.
You're such a stoner.
Now, here. So I don't know. Like I eat a lot of vegetables now. And like yesterday, I just was craving. I perfected Brussels sprouts, which sound. Oh, I know.
How do you make them? Honey and bacon or something like that, or what do you do?
No,
That's the way to cover up the taste, by the way.
Okay, you do like in a casserole dish, olive oil, balsamic. I know I say that freaking wrong, so I don't give a shit because everybody's. But that's how I say it. All right. I don't know.
Say it again.
How do you say it?
Balsamic.
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 And like even when I try
it's like the Islamic balsamic.
Yeah.
It's whatever. It's like balsamic, but it's BALS balsamic.
BALSA.
I don't freaking know. I'm not hooked on phonics.
There's one L, balsamic.
But okay, balsamic. Anyways, so you do olive oil, balsamic, salt and pepper, shred peppers. You fucking dick.
You sound like the guy. There was that the dude Itchy Boy Mike made a thing for it. The guy's like, "This is the best bagel I ever had." Like,
bagel. Yeah. Like,
what? Crushed red peppers. You roast it. You have your little moments, and then you take it out and you do a little Mike's Hot Honey on it. But the balsamic actually. Every time makes it like it like caramelizes it in the oven, and then you take it out, you do the little hot honey on it, and then I
almost forgot what we were talking about for a second.
Brussels sprouts, yeah. And then you sprinkle on some Parmesan cheese, a little pecans, and
so whatever you do to cover the taste of
it's not covered. It's just like added, but then I had already had what is that? Because butternut squash. I didn't have my Brussels sprouts last night. And I was like kind of sad about it because
Brussels sprouts is balsamic.
I was like Brussels sprouts with balsamic. I swear that's how you say it. That's how my brain. I can't. How do you say it? How do you say it? Balsamic.
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 No, there's no balsamic. Balsamic vinegar.
Balsamic.
Balsamic. No L after the S. Balsamic.
But there is an L.
Before.
B-A-L.
B-A-L. Then
Balsamic.
no, you said another L. Never mind. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you for having me on the show, being super entertaining and sharing all your NLP stuff. I'm not gonna get that right. And we're gonna eventually have you back. Maybe we'll have your feet back on the show. There you go.
That's why I always wear sneakers. For the record, you got to protect the money makers.
Yeah, that's what I do as well. Thank you for being on the show. Appreciate it. Tune in. And what's shout out Tiny Toes again? Where can they find you?
Tasty Toes.
Tasty Toes. Tiny Toes. Tasty Toes.
I was like, my toes.
Where can
Tasty Toes NYC.
Tasty _ toes _ NYC.
Yep.
Tasty _ toes _ NYC. Go see her toes, some food on it, and some action.
Mushies.
Some mushies.
Mushy moments.
Check her out. Peace. Oh my God.